I probably deserve to die for what I did to all those people.
Okay. Well, welcome back to WrestleMania. What movie did we watch?
We watched The Giant Claw.
Would you call this movie a horror movie?
I'd say it was pretty horrific and or horrifying.
Horrifying.
Terror, maybe?
Chilling.
Yeah. Thriller.
Yeah.
If you want to get it, if you want to get it into the Academy Awards, call it a thriller.
Were you scared by this movie?
Yeah, I screamed a couple times. You heard.
There were a couple of times I shrieked.
Yeah.
This movie was released in 1957.
Yep, and it shows.
Do you think... I know this movie is kind of infamous.
Yeah.
And I'll get into why I don't really understand why it's so infamous.
Yeah.
But do you think at the time it was okay?
I'd say, I mean, like, it's campy and goofy, you know? But for the time, in terms... I mean, if you're judging this by, like, action and characters, you know, there's not really a whole lot of action. And the plot's kind of, like, really thin. I'd say this is, like, a bad movie.
I know it wasn't, like Hitchcock or something.
Yeah, I mean, but
I
don't think
do you think, like, special effects wise,
no,
it did its job at the time?
I'd say it's
like,
pretty.
even back
I'd
then?
say it's below. It's below what you should be at, even for this era. Because like there were a lot of very visible strings, and it's just like the movement was really off. Even for this time, it was just like really, really not well executed.
I can see that, but I don't think it's as bad. I think there's worse. That Varan movie we watched was worse than this.
I think because this one, I think in this, I mean, Varan, like, they didn't even fucking try. This, they're kind of going for it more, whether or not they're capable of it. And there's something to be said for that, and it also makes for a much more entertaining movie.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
This movie really doesn't... Maybe saying it doesn't fuck around is the wrong way of saying it, but it's got a certain kind of drive or like determination.
Yeah.
Where you're, I don't know. They really think they're getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this your first time ever watching it?
I've known about this movie for like a long time, ever since I watched like on like the History and Discovery Channel, like they'd play like when I was into Godzilla, they would like play documentaries like about giant monster movies or like campy old movies. I was like, I was like interested in that if I saw it on TV, and I just remember this is like always mentioned in that stuff. And then once I was like watching YouTube, like all of my beloved review channels were talking about this movie, so I've kind of always known about it. I think in the Stephen King novel it takes on the form of the giant claw, but like real one time.
Like they mentioned the giant claw by name.
He's well, like it like takes on the forms of like kids' fears, and like one of the kids like saw the giant claw and was like scared by the giant claw, and the thing takes on the form of it and like tries to fucking kill him.
The monster itself is pretty scary looking.
For a kid, yeah, if I saw that, like there's something about it like looking right into the camera the way it does, where if I were like a little kid, I'd be like, eh.
It's just a weird looking design. It's just like, and it's kind of an original design. It's like a I don't know,
those
just like
buggy eyes and
like the really long neck. I'd say that the monster design, I mean, obviously it's silly looking.
The problem here with it, I would say really the only problem is execution.
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know if there's really like a flaw
but
with
it's
the design.
also got, I mean, just the look. It's a silly look. The buggy eyes and the mouth.
Definitely.
And everything. It is goofy looking, but I really don't. I think it's better than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah, I wouldn't call like this like a terrible movie or like
as far as these things go.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Always got to put that in here. It is a terrible movie without a doubt.
No, yeah. Almost all the movies we're watching on here are terrible movies.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So this is your first time seeing it?
Yes. Yeah. This is my first time seeing it.
Have you ever seen any clips?
I'd seen like clips like when he's behind the. I've seen like the worst of it, like the really like goofiest, the plane and like him behind, like him bugging right into the camera, the most jarring stuff. I've seen, and I just kind of knew how it looked. And it was one when we really started goofing on movies. It was like one I was like, we got to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of these days. That would be a great one to make fun of. But yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, it is.
It would be. I think we would have, if we could really let loose around this movie.
Yeah.
Then it would have been a great time.
Yeah, we really would have been making jokes about like that, the main character, you know, assaulting the woman or something, or maybe somebody's gay, or you know.
Yeah, maybe Luigi's
really,
gay.
Yeah, really funny stuff like somebody being gay, you know.
Which is something that's very funny to me.
It's always funny, you know. Before we go any further, do you want to cover the plot real quick? It's pretty simple.
Okay, I'll run over some stuff because I know we took a break, which we usually don't do. We usually watch these movies. We try to watch them in one sitting.
Mm-hmm. But desperate times call for desperate measures.
Right. We had to break up this viewing into 2 separate but equal parts.
Yep.
Our main character, and it's very easy to forget this by the end of the movie, his profession, pilot.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want you to leave that out. I figured you, because I almost forgot.
I basically forgot.
At the end of the movie, I saw him like fucking around with test tubes, and I was like, something doesn't seem right. And then I remembered he was flying a plane in the beginning of the movie. He was flying a jet.
Yeah, he was like in the military, right?
Right.
Yeah, straight up in the military.
He's in the military. They're in like the testing. He's testing stuff for the military, but they introduced him as like a military pilot.
Yeah, they like call him a pilot. He shifts slowly but surely from military pilot to
the greatest scientific mind of our time.
And that man was Albert Einstein.
So they're doing tests with new radar technology to see if they can find planes in the sky, to see if they can accurately detect aircraft. And so our Jim Pickens, son of a bitch, white bread man, is flying around in a plane. And I made a note of this, is that like there's something so wrong about him flying in that, like they show the plane like rocketing through the sky, and then they cut to like him in a still seat, and he's just like casually looking around.
Yeah,
he's in like his aviation gear, but he's like not pressed back against his seat at all. He's just
he's not really like looking alert.
Very calm. They're keeping the plane completely still. They're not shaking it at all.
You know, even like you'd be like moving around a bit if you were like driving a car,
right,
or something. You'd be like you know, moving around a little bit, but he is completely stationary, like he's sitting in a chair on a bus or something.
Yeah
So
he sees the giant claw, which is they give it a name, but only the French guy gives it a name,
and then they say it's not that though later on.
Yeah, well, that's like a folk creature, but they're saying like, oh, he was right because it predicted his death.
Right.
Anyway, the giant claw is a giant silly bird, and it is seen by our hero.
He calls it a flying battleship.
Protagonist.
Is how he originally identifies it.
Yeah, he says it was as big as a battleship, but it was flying. And they say the word battleship probably about 50 times in this script. He sees it. He comes back down. He talks to his boss about it, and he's like, you got some nerve, motherfucker, lying about seeing things in the sky. Your radar would have detected it.
Yeah.
Very quickly, other people see the giant claw, so he doesn't get fired or anything. He gets on like 3 planes in a row while he's being pursued by this fucking thing, and he doesn't learn. They end up at a French guy's house, a French guy with a Mexican accent. Pierre,
good old Pierre.
He gives our main character and his love interest slash coworker
slash long-term girlfriend, I think, by the end of the movie. They're like a real item, like they're a thing.
Anyway, all 3 of them, or both of them and Pierre, drinking some moonshine in Pierre's house for some reason, which will come back up later.
Right.
Pierre's a minor character.
Yeah, and he kind of like, they crash in a plane, and then he comes and finds them. The giant claw makes them crash, and then he comes and finds them and takes them back to his house.
Some bullshit happens. The military eventually says, we can't explain why we can't find him on our radars, but we can't. but we know he's there. So they try to shoot him down.
Doesn't work.
Bullets don't work on him.
Bullets don't work. Neither do rockets or cannons.
Cannons, which
Or
airplanes have.
Yep.
They basically send a bunch of people to their death.
Yep.
And then they sort of stop and they say, hey, all flights are grounded. And it looks like since all flights are grounded, the Giant Claw is now attacking stuff on the ground. And they're like, so basically...
He's attracted to movement.
He's just attracted to movement. And they say, like, don't drive. Don't take any public transportation.
We're blacking out at night.
You know, which is, I guess a sensible solution. It's like, we don't want anybody to get killed.
Right.
The thing about that is, like, immediately after that, our heroes get on a plane.
Yep. And they go find Pierre for some reason and bring him along to where they believe they
get in a helicopter with Pierre.
They get in a plane and then they get somewhere and then they get in they get in the helicopter with Pierre. We go from a shot of a plane to a shot of a helicopter.
So they're flying twice.
Yeah.
This guy is I think he's in 6 planes and a helicopter in this movie, our main character.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an exaggeration. He's in planes like the majority of this movie.
Yeah, and this movie's an hour and 15 minutes long. So
different kinds of planes. There's a fighter jet, several just like kind of military transport planes. He's on a commercial airplane, and then he gets in the helicopter. He's in like that, those like propeller planes.
Yeah.
Like on
World War II ass,
3 separate
Korean War
occasions.
ass planes, yeah. Indiana Jones ass planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's roughly he's on a plane a little under every 14 minutes in this movie. So they go in this helicopter and they land where they find that the Giant Claw has been building a nest.
Yeah, they kind of glossed over that.
Yeah, I thought that was going to become like the big final set piece, or at least like the second act set piece or something, like sort of a central.
The love interest woman figures it out. She's like, yeah, it came here from outer space, but we forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah.
They figure out it came from outer space.
And it's also got an antimatter shield.
Because it comes from an antimatter galaxy.
Right, yeah. But it's not made of antimatter.
No, it's just made of regular matter, just like birds here.
Yeah, it
just has an antimatter shield, which is why we can't.
Yeah,
we can't.
Antimatter, the mirror image of a bird here, sort of.
Minor detail, but
yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Worth mentioning at least.
Yeah, you'll understand. You'll basically get they tell everything visually, so you'll understand all the antimatter stuff if you just watch the movie. But so yeah, they go to this place where they find the Giant Claw has been banking a nest, and then they also brought 2 rifles with them.
Yeah.
Pierre, main guy, and his girlfriend. So they're like, there he is, and Pierre's like, oh my god. And they aim the rifles there, and it's got an egg.
Yeah, it has one egg.
Yeah, it has one egg, and then Pierre's like, "You're gonna." They plan to shoot the egg, and then Pierre's like, "You're gonna shoot the egg? You're fucking crazy," and he runs. And then so main guy and his girlfriend, she just picks up the rifle, which we thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, she says, "I'm from Montana."
Yeah, and then
I don't know what that means, and then she just fucking bullseyes that fucking egg.
Yeah, he hits it, and then she hits it, and she's just like she loads a cartridge in. It's really cool. It was all right,
impeccable aim.
Yeah, she just gets it, and they don't make a big deal out of it or anything. So basically the egg's done. Some milk comes out of it or something.
Yeah.
Giant Claw gets up, finds Pierre, kills him.
Yeah, just kills fucking Pierre, my favorite character of this whole fucking movie. The only character whose name I remember.
Yep. And they fucking killed him. He died a horrible death. And then the people are like, the guy and his girlfriend are like, well, I guess he was right that seeing the bird meant his death. Huh.
They're being really shitty about it. He was like, let's take Pierre's car to where we need to go. He doesn't need it anymore.
Because he's dead.
Fuck you. And they didn't even need Pierre.
Why did he come there?
He was there for no reason.
If he was supposed to be leading them to where he knew where the nest was, then I totally missed that. I don't think that was the case though.
I don't think they said anything about that. I remember they said that they found a footprint near Pierre's farm, meaning that it had landed near there, but I don't think they needed Pierre at any capacity.
He could just tell them where it was, regardless. I don't know what.
It wasn't Pierre's helicopter. It wasn't Pierre's airplane. Pierre's car was there for some reason, but they took a helicopter there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, Pierre was there for no reason. They got him fucking killed, and it pissed me off.
They weren't even sad about it, really.
No, they didn't give a fuck about Pierre. He got them French wasted with his French moonshine.
His personal, he had a nice, big jug of it.
He showed them French hospitality.
Yeah, I think French.
Yeah, vaguely French.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But so they take Pierre. They steal a dead man's car. And then some teenagers who are American, even though we're in France, vague France, I thought, unless Pierre was in America.
No, Pierre's in America.
Pierre was in America?
Or no, he was in Canada, remember, because the Canadian military or the Canadian police show up at his house or something.
Yeah, okay,
this shit all sounds crazy when we're talking about it.
Yeah.
It's really kind of mundane in the plot, but altogether this shit's wacky.
It really is. So yeah, they steal dead man's car. Some teenagers are making fun of them. They're like, haha.
This shit is crazy. There's a bunch of teenagers in a car and they're like, haha, we're going so fast.
So the guy keeps calling.
They honk and it goes like, shitty old jalopy.
Yeah.
Fucking car horn.
Yeah, and in the 50s, these girls are like, oh my God, we're going fast. Wow.
And there's a girl hanging off the side of the car, and she's like, "Yeah, ha ha ha!"
I've got some salt.
She's got a fucking shaker of salt, and she says at one point, "I've got salt."
Yeah, dude.
And then she the giant claw fucking destroys their car and sends her crashing.
Yeah.
She jumps off of the car to avoid it.
Two of them get out. Only two of them. There's 4 teenagers and two of them get out.
She jumps into a fucking ditch and gets knocked unconscious in a real ass car crash.
Yeah, and the giant claw picks up the car with I believe the other two teenagers were in there, and it fucking explodes.
Yeah.
They're just
gruesome.
Dead. Yeah, awful.
Also, there's trains still moving after they said that nothing should be moving anymore.
That would be the worst. They go through a bunch of. It's just the worst way to probably be transporting something like that, something big, long, and moving. You know.
The more you limit movement of everything, the more attention it draws to the things that are moving.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that trains are cheap. Especially in the 1950s.
Especially when they're getting exploded.
That was a big, dumb decision by whoever owned the train.
Yeah, but that's on their dime, I guess.
Our main character collaborates with creative mind Walt Disney
yeah.
to create some kind of ray that deactivates the
antimatter shield, because the antimatter, as you might know, when antimatter hits regular matter, they destroy each other, as you know.
Which is why the bullets can't hit the giant claws.
Exactly.
Duh.
So they need to deactivate that shield, and so of course they build a machine that will do it. And failure after failure.
They fail a couple times.
Yeah, and I was joking about it going on forever. But
they go through a little bit of trial and error, then they figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, I was kind of happy to see we get a good deal of monster action.
We do. It doesn't overstay its welcome either.
Right. The giant claw attacks New York, and it's
tears apart some buildings.
You get your money's worth at the end.
I'd say, yeah.
He destroys the Empire State Building. He eats the top of it.
Yeah. He tears it up.
It's a pretty cool shot. If I had to pick a shot, the big shot in the movie, it would be when he's on the Empire State Building, and up until that point, I really didn't realize how big he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was holy shit.
Yeah, he's fucking massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that is just they did a bad job with scale.
Yeah, that's a problem we'll probably talk about later on. You have no idea how big the giant claw is in relation to everything.
Yeah.
So it fucks up New York for a while, and then they take the machine on a plane and they kind of shoot some bottle rockets out at it that is supposed to deactivate its ray, and then they shoot at it. They throw the puppet in the water in a pool, in the studio's wave pool.
And the giant claw's dead.
Yep, I think so. It like kind of moved its claw though at the end, and I thought they were gonna be like the end.
I think it was just dying.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I was like, oh, no.
Maybe it's an ending like whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Yeah.
For those of you who have seen that.
For you shitheads who have seen that.
It's a very famous kaiju movie.
Yeah, one of the greatest.
With an ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
A will they, won't they?
Yeah,
sort of
dynamic. All right. Yeah,
so that's our movie.
Yeah, it's you were asking me earlier if I thought this was like a good movie. Or if it's definitely not good special effects, but it's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Even in the 50s, you know, when you don't have like the context, oh my god. When you don't have like the context of like sort of being able to look back on these and how silly they are, you know, a lot of things like become dated in these. Even back then, I think this would have been really entertaining. 1957 standards. It would have, I think it would have been pretty entertaining, you know? Yeah, it's just like go see some people scream. It does not overstay its welcome. It's not too long.
We've reviewed far worse movies.
Oh my god, yeah.
Not spoiling our Don Fry ratings just yet, but
yeah.
It might have something to do with the fact that I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. If we're comparing it to that Varan movie we watched.
Yeah.
Or like 20,000 Miles from Earth or something.
Yeah, that one with like claymation.
20 million miles to Earth, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 20 million.
This was more, I mean, this is an American giant monster bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's more in the vein of those, but I think this one was really the one that I knew what I was getting myself into with, because, you know, it's that same 50s era, your everyman who's also a scientist and a military guy.
He's he serves the plot. He serves our country in the plot.
Yeah.
Here
simultaneously.
Yeah.
And you've got like they always kind of work in like a general
yeah,
as
like,
one of the characters, and like in all the war rooms they're just like a corner of a room with like a radio in it.
Yeah, like a radio and some equipment.
And I knew I this one I really knew that I was expecting that. And so it really went down smooth, just the whole experience.
There's nothing like jarring about it where you're like, oh, it's this or something.
Yeah. Like you said, it never really drags on or anything.
Yeah, it's nice. It's curt, you know? It does what it's doing and gets out, you know?
You mentioned as we finished this that it felt like the movie was 45 minutes long.
Yeah, I was like surprised when it ended. I was like, oh, I felt like there should have been like 30 more minutes.
And I think that might be the first time we've ever felt like the movie was short after we watched it.
Yeah.
All of these seem to run on long, even the ones that we enjoy.
Yeah,
leave me looking at my watch.
Yeah, totally.
So that was weird.
Yeah, it felt like an act was missing or something. I was kind of wondering.
To me, it never felt like anything was missing. It just kind of felt like it was fast.
Yeah, I just meant like in terms of time.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I was like wondering. I was like looking it up to see if like this was like an edited down version of the movie, and I don't believe it is. I think this is just the normal white bread version. There's not really any different ones. So yeah, it's really short, but that doesn't mean it's good. Let's start talking about.
Is it a negative thing to say about the movie?
I'd say yes.
Okay. We used to do this a lot in our podcast, and I think it's very effective. It's the what was the bad stuff about this? Yeah.
So I'd say the story I would say is like definitely like we don't get any characterization either. You know, there's no like we're really kind of like bouncing around in terms of plot. We don't really follow any type of line. You know, we don't go from one place then to the next. Oh, then we'll go here. Right. You know, it's just kind of whatever. You know,
it almost just seems random.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. This guy keeps getting on planes when like sometimes he doesn't even need to go anywhere to solve the problem.
Yeah.
A lot of times he'll just be like, I need to go somewhere. Let's get on a plane, knowing damn well there's a fucking
flying condor or whatever.
Big ass bird that
gigantic
eats airplanes, eats strictly airplanes.
Yeah, anything moving.
And he's the first. For a good chunk of the movie, he's the only living person to ever see that bird. and he's the one who's like, I think we're probably gonna be good getting on another airplane.
Yeah. Remember the bullshit about like the attacks, like they're in a spiral pattern?
Yes. So our main character like pulls out a map on the airplane on an airplane
after assaulting a woman, after assaulting his lab assistant sitting next to him while she's sleeping.
She does like calculations for him.
Yeah, she's like working in radar or something.
She's like an actual scientist. Yeah, though. He's like just a pilot who's like figuring shit out.
Yeah, has a knowledge of theoretical physics too.
She's asleep next to him on a commercial plane, and he fucking leans over and just starts making out with her.
Yeah,
while she's asleep, and up to this point, we have no indication that they're dating.
Professional. And yeah, and it's kind of like it's almost like sort of like a male fantasy of like. But like it totally is like some guy who hasn't tried something like that on a girl. But she's like, oh, I see you're kissing me. She has some witty fucking remark or something. Really, she should be
Shouldn't you be not kissing me?
Yeah, well, sir, we're on an airplane. Are you kissing me? Really, when she'd probably be like, stop.
Yeah.
Or something,
like, oh my God.
Like, did you? Oh my God, and then that's when she tells him she has like a long distance boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just lies about having a boyfriend because she doesn't want this like fucked up Richard Nixon looking motherfucker macking lips with her.
You remember the part of the movie where a guy tells them to be quiet on an airplane, and then they're like quiet for a second, and then they say a couple more lines, and then the scene ends?
Yeah. Those people, I was thinking like I was making jokes like behind him out of focus. You can see this guy like while they're like yelling about this fucking. It's like obviously nap time on the airplane.
Yeah,
everybody's asleep around them. Even the girl was asleep, and he's just like looking at. I don't know. He's jerking off, or I don't know.
He's horny.
Yeah, and he's just like, I think I'll kiss this woman without asking her, and he kisses her. This woman, by the way, the tip of her nose moves around like when she talks. It's like whenever she's talking. That pissed me off. They figure out that like he like marks where all the attacks happen. He like has a great idea of where they all happened so far, and he's like, see the pattern? And she's like, no, I don't see the pattern. And then he draws a fucking spiral. It's like, really? And then some people on the plane are like visibly angry with them, and then they eventually get told to be quiet.
You know what I'm just now thinking about?
What?
I know his spiral theory was bullshit anyway.
Right.
But really, it didn't matter where any of the attacks took place, because you could just draw a spiral on anything. Yeah. And just depending on how thick you draw the space between the lines, it could just be anywhere.
Totally.
So like it could have been another pattern or something for all he fucking knew, or no pattern.
He could have just drawn a line in between each place where he marked the attacks.
And the funny thing about it is like the spiral thing has no bearing on the plot at all, but they treat it like it's the first big realization.
Like, oh, whoa, something's going on here. It's like, what does that mean?
We're looking into how it's thinking. Like we know how it's how it's choosing its next targets.
Did they know it was a bird yet at that point?
I don't know.
Still doesn't matter.
They kept calling it a UFO.
It still doesn't matter though. Like birds don't. I mean, unless I'm not quite brushed up on bird law here.
Bird's law.
Yeah. Are birds associated with flying in ever-growing spirals? I don't know. There's like a weird cosmic element to this plot, and I thought that spiral was gonna play into it more or something. Like all this like antimatter shit. Like why can't it just make it come out of the fucking ground?
Yeah, I don't know. They never really they say it's from another planet. At one point, he's like, because there's nothing like this on Earth.
And Walt Disney says that he literally says after all this antimatter, he just unloads about this antimatter bullshit. And he says to the general and the guy and his girlfriend, he goes, and there's simply no other explanation for it. I was like, none? There's no other way? to fucking explain this.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about the science a little bit with this. Let's talk about the science dump.
All right.
A little bit. So we get a scene where they just kind of show up with Walt Disney. I guess it's Walt Disney's lab.
Right.
And he's like talking about they got the wreckage from the planes that the giant claw destroyed.
Yeah.
And they put
the second plane.
Yeah, and they put them in an electronic analysis device or something is what they say.
Yeah.
And I guess from that he determined that antimatter was somehow involved.
Yeah. The real retarded part is, so they say antimatter and matter, when they touch, that it gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So the antimatter shield is blocking the giant claw because the matter, which are the artillery, touch the shield and they blow up.
Right.
But he also says that the giant claw itself is made of matter.
Yes.
So the giant claw should just be blowing up.
It's just because a little around it. Apparently,
there's a little gap.
Okay, yeah, there's some control he has over it where he can, like, eat or something. But then later on, they talk about how the giant claw might not even eat.
Yeah, it just absorbs energy from destroying things.
Which, I mean, like, the definition of destroying something is even, like, subjective. Like, what counts as destroying something?
Right.
Just, like, running into something, you know? Like, and how would...
And the egg didn't have the antimatter shield. They shot that motherfucker with 2 bullets.
Yep. And it was done.
Yeah.
Did the thing inside, did the embryo not have an antimatter? When does the antimatter shield develop? Is that the point when the giant claw species stops allowing abortions?
Would the giant claw egg have even turned into anything because there was no male giant claw to fertilize the egg?
I don't know.
We don't have the answers for you.
We're just saying this movie's not very realistic.
This movie is bullshit.
Yeah, it really broke my suspension of disbelief.
It really busted my balls.
Ouch.
This movie's really busting my balls here.
It's kind of crazy. Like, antimatter and shit, I feel like that was, like, pretty, like, bleeding edge science.
That's what I got the impression that, like, they were toying with, like, actual science.
Yeah.
But really just, like, throwing it around the fucking room.
Yeah, there was really nothing. You can tell that it was tacked on, like, we got a giant bird movie.
Yeah.
Antimatter, you know, and that came after, not like antimatter, what would, how can we use this to create a creature or something, you know? Pretty, like, bleeding at, like, seriously, like, kind of out, even today, like, antimatter's a pretty, like, just conceptual thing. Like, we just, like, kind of through, like, writing some numbers on a board, we've determined that has to exist or something.
I want to apologize for something we said a few episodes ago. I know. Something you said a few episodes ago, I should say.
Was it the F word?
No, unfortunately. We were talking about sending Gamera to Mars. Remember, I went on a little rant about Al Gore. My sentiments were, fuck you, Al Gore, you piece of shit.
Has that changed?
No.
Okay, good.
But,
I was worried.
I said, fuck you, Al Gore. Gamera's been at Mars since 1965.
Right.
And then we said, we didn't even go to the moon until 1969.
Right.
And I was like, but had we been to space at that point? And you said, I don't think so.
Did I? Fuck. And that's super wrong.
And I said, are you sure the Russians didn't send somebody? And I fact-checked it the other day because I saw that our Gamera episode is one of our more popular episodes.
Right.
And I was just listening to that part, and I was like, I'm just going to check. Russians went to space in 1961.
Yeah, I realized. Why would I say that? Oh, my God.
I don't know.
That's super wrong, too. Like, we were in space before we went to the moon, too. Like,
yeah.
We didn't just go to the moon out of the blue. That's fucking retarded. I can't believe I said that. That's super wrong.
I try to keep our an honest when we fuck up, I'm not gonna hide it. And I try to fact check all these things.
And I guess I can't stop you, can I?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Things we didn't like. Is there anything else that you didn't like about this?
I mean, besides like kind of like a shitty plot and some like really like underdeveloped characters that don't really like go through any type of arc,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like this relationship isn't fleshed out and there's no real reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really anything like unenjoyed. Like there's nothing really like at this point. It's like in like the field of camp, you know, where I'm enjoying it in a different way.
There's nothing really annoying.
That's what I was about to say. There's nothing that really gets on my nerves. There's nothing that like got old or anything. It never got boring. It, you know, a lot of these movies you'll get to a point where you're like, I don't fucking care what you were saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
Move on. Stop shooting that thing. I've had enough of that, you know. Like we said, it moves on at a good pace.
The final few minutes where like the giant claw is like finally in New York, and it's like I guess everything stopped moving. Yeah. So it's just like attacking buildings and shit, and there's like people running away, and there's a couple of shots of like people getting crushed by debris.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, because you really haven't been exposed to that level of like
violence.
Yeah, in the movie so far. And it's just like, oh no, he's killing people.
Yeah, out of nowhere. He's just been, like picked up a couple trains and like knocked over a couple planes.
Yeah, some stuff's exploded, and he ate some parachute-y guys, but
killed some teenagers.
Here, now people are dying in kind of realistic ways. They're just like getting killed by the fallout of what's going on.
Yeah, he's not really even going after people. He's just kind of like knocking over buildings.
So we get a little bit of carnage, and then you know, right on time, our heroes save the day, and then it ends. They're just not doesn't really wrap up very well.
Yeah, that's another thing. The story, like I said, when I said it, I said this movie moves along at a good pace, and I think that's a little wrong because there's no pacing. This story doesn't. This movie doesn't like hit beats. You know, there's
no like the climax or anything.
There's no.
I mean, there is a, you know, the end.
Yeah, I mean, where it kind of gets a little bigger, it like inflates a little. You know? But like we just kind of like
it doesn't have a conventional.
Yeah, we're just kind of bouncing around until we hit the end.
Yeah.
You know, we're
here.
Yeah, like I said, nothing leads to the next thing. This needs to happen next, so we'll have an expositional scene, and then something will happen, you know. Pierre talks like he's French, or French-Canadian.
Supposed to be French.
But
he's got some like Native American rugs
on
his patio, and he's got a Hispanic accent.
Yeah, he's oh hello. Yeah. Hello, I am French.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I wasn't like completely certain he was like French. You were like, is he supposed to be French? I was like, I don't know. And then he says oui at one point or something.
He says like oui.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, with a name like Pierre, I thought he might have been Italian or something.
I was thinking, something.
But with a name like Pierre, that's pretty definitively French. And then when he answered the phone and said oui,
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah, all right, y'all are doing it. He's French, huh? So I wanted to talk about something.
Okay.
So Pierre like goes outside after he hears something or something.
Yeah, during our protagonist's first initial meeting with Pierre when they're drinking moonshine.
Yeah, he like goes outside, I think because he heard something.
Right.
And then he sees the giant claw, and he thinks it's some like folk monster.
Yeah.
And that he just saw that means his death is coming, and he's like, you know, and I think he passes out or something.
Yeah.
Out of sheer fright.
Mm-hmm.
And then they carry him back inside, and the police get there to take the guy and his girlfriend somewhere. They need to see somebody. Pierre, the guy, explains like the local folklore to the main characters.
One of the Mounties.
Yeah, one of the Mounties. He's like, yeah, it means and there's like a guy behind Pierre. They like leave him with the police at his house.
Yeah.
There's like a car waiting for them, and he's like, yep, it means that he believes that when they see that monster, that his death is coming soon. And there's like a cop behind him, and I thought I had like I knew it like I pretty much knew it wasn't going to happen, but there was like an inkling of an idea that like there was going to be like a cover-up plot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, it means your death is coming soon, and they were gonna kill Pierre because then they had that shot of like a giant claw print in the ground near his house, and I thought they were gonna be like, I didn't think he was gonna have come from outer space. I thought it was gonna be something that had been around.
Wasn't my first
guess for something like so terrestrial, you know.
It's just a fucking bird. It's a bird that works like regular birds work.
Yeah,
and how did it get here?
I don't know. They never have like a scene. They don't have at least like in a movie like this. Usually, you'd have like something at the beginning, like, it appears a meteor is crashing to Earth or something, you know, or just like a shot of something falling to Earth.
And they never explain it. They kind of toy with the idea. They're like, why is it here? Why here?
Yeah.
And then the girl's like, well, it's obvious. To build a nest.
Yeah,
but that creates even more questions because that's what Earth birds do.
Yeah, I mean,
it just behaves like regular birds.
If it just needs to build a nest, why didn't it go to like Mars or something? It doesn't need to. It just needs to destroy things. It doesn't need to be around people. It doesn't need food.
Did it come from a planet where they have things to regularly destroy?
I don't know. Who qualifies when something is destroyed? What's the difference between destroyed and damaged? Is God judging this? He's like, that doesn't qualify as destroyed. Okay, here's some energy. That's destroyed. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, if you can believe it, the giant claw doesn't make much sense. I was kind of hoping there'd be a cover-up plot, and maybe it'd be a spy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like James Bond or
Spies Like Us.
Spies Like Us, Austin Powers. You know.
We can go ahead and talk about Don Fries. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, like I've said, this movie didn't have anything that irritated me in it, and it was enjoyable, and I know, I mean, we probably won't put it on to make fun of it again, but if you want to goof on a movie, this is a good one to do it too, especially if you like goofing on, you know, if you want to make jokes about, you know, white men in the 50s telling women to shut up, you know, or something, you know, this is a good one.
Couple moments like that.
There's a couple moments where they kind of do that. They're like, don't worry, we've got this, sweaty.
Yeah, they cut her off.
Yeah, you know.
When she's saying something important.
Yeah, when she's adding something to the discussion. But they kind of redeem themselves whenever she picks up that rifle and shoots the egg. I was kind of like, all right, you know, it's balancing out a little bit here. Yeah, it's a fun one to make fun of. There's some silly looking stuff in it. They do some silly things. They say some silly things. The main character really isn't a leading man, and it's funny whenever they try to make him like the hero, you know?
Yeah.
This weird looking kind of, you know, the 1950s definition of fit where he's just kind of fat, you know? But yeah, it's like fun to watch. And it would have just like watching it and being quiet and not saying much, like we watch these movies often. I was having an all right time.
Yeah.
You know, and if we had been, you know, goofing on it out loud, I would have been having an even better time, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, usually I rate these, you know, if it's enjoyable is how I've always said it. But what really pushes something above and beyond is if it's, like, really enjoyable, you know, like, insanely enjoyable, like King Kong versus Godzilla or something like that, where it's just, like, so fun to watch. Or, you know, or it, like, works as a real movie, you know, and is entertaining.
Right.
This was like really entertaining, but it like we've said, the structure and the characters, like they're, you know, either non-existent or they're just not working, you know, whichever one you want to pick. And it just doesn't work at all as like a real movie. So it's not like insanely enjoyable. All that said, I'm gonna give this like I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Maybe a 7 if I'm feeling really generous, but yeah, solid 6.5.
Well, for me, I had a good time watching this. I think that it's one that everybody should, if you're the kind of person to listen to this podcast, this is one, regardless of how good I think it is, regardless of what score I give it, I think everybody should see this at one point or another. And I think the giant claw itself has become kind of an icon in
I was about to say, yeah, it's
like,
kind of a
somehow
thing.
This shitty little independent one manages to like stick out among like Godzilla and Gamera.
Yeah, it's got its own
and
thing.
Like all the, you know, King Kong somehow.
It's got an identity.
And it's very I don't want to call it unique. It's got things that make it really, it's got just kind of like the perfect like Powerpuff Girls. It's got this and this and this to make this.
Yeah.
Just whatever it's got going for it is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could have a really good time if you're just watching this to make fun of it.
Yeah.
If you're just watching this to throw it on like, oh my god, I have the giant claw.
Yeah.
It's just one of those movies, and it's not like overhyped. Like there's a lot of those like so bad movies that are really overhyped, and this hasn't quite made it there, at least for me.
Yeah, the way it's been advertised to me is like, oh, this is one of the campy.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I've always been told that it's like this one's a big pile of shit.
Really?
Yeah, like a big goofy pile of shit. But like it's not that many people who say that. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody should at least give this one a watch. I like a lot of stuff about it. And that third act, you know, when he's attacking New York, that was really fun, and that was like more than I expected.
Totally, yeah.
Because for the majority of the movie, the only time you see the giant claw is through this same piece of footage where he's like zooming from like the middle of the frame to the top of the frame.
He's also out of focus a lot of the time.
Yeah, he's extremely blurry
for some reason.
Even though you could see the strings and stuff, it was like entertaining puppet work.
Yeah.
To me. So I have a lot of positive opinions on this movie, despite the fact that I know it's not a very good movie. Mm-hmm. My big gripe is they killed Pierre, which is unforgivable. They hint at it earlier on. They're like, oh yeah, he's gonna die soon because he saw the thing. And I was like, they better fucking not. And they brought him back later, and I was kind of hoping that he'd have, like, some kind of... I was kind of hoping he'd get to be, like, the third wheel of the plot.
Right, yeah.
And, like, sort of help resolve everything. And they, like, just brought him back strictly to kill him, and he was kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And that was really shitty. I liked Pierre a lot. He was very kind, and he shared his French moonshine with our... protagonists, and he didn't have to do that.
It might have been better if they had, you know, if the characters had been like, no, Pierre, no, or something, you know.
If Pierre had like flown the final plane into the giant claw to sacrifice himself, but to kill the giant claw, that would have been okay. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think Pierre is an extremely underutilized character.
I see that, yeah.
In this movie.
I'd agree with that, honestly.
My final verdict on this movie is I'm going to give it a very soft, loving 5.7 for 1957, the year that this movie was released. And I've given movies that I'm like angry at 5s on here before, and it's weird because I can't in good conscience put this any higher than that.
Yeah,
I can't put this on like the brighter side of the scale. But I have no beef with this movie other than that they killed Pierre, but I'm not angry at this movie for like stealing my time.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I am.
It didn't feel like a waste of time. Yeah.
No. I think if I had a film class, I would definitely show this to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
This is worth seeing.
It's one of those ones where it's like, you know, if you like went to like a film class or something, you know, just like college kids, and you're like, have you guys seen The Giant Claw? A lot of them would probably say like no, but they'd know of it.
Yeah, a lot of people know of it. They know that picture of like the giant claw behind the plane.
Yeah. It's iconic in some ways, you know.
It's kind of like the Xenomorph, where everybody knows the design, but not everybody has seen the movie. I mean, obviously a lot of people have seen Alien,
but yeah, it is like sort of a design that's more popular than what it's actually from.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Totally. Yeah. But yeah, this would totally be a good one to show for like it. Maybe not like, I don't know if you could really learn too much from this in the way that you could from some other ones in terms of like what not to do, which is a lot of the reason you would show some of these movies to a film class.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be like, okay, why isn't this working? With this, it's like, this would be one you show on like a day, maybe like, oh, we're gonna be holding class, you come, we're having a pizza party in class or something, you know, you guys can bring food or something.
I think this is the kind of movie where like you show a batch of like 25 kids this movie, and I think one out of every 25 is gonna like fall in love with it. I think there's something kind of charming about this movie that I think someone who's not me, I think there's things to latch on with this movie. I think there's definitely like a rewatchability to it, but I'm not really feeling like I'm ever gonna need to rewatch this, especially anytime soon.
Yeah.
But it's more than like a movie like Rodan or something.
Definitely, yeah.
There's just something about this movie that I feel like a certain someone might just like this movie more than everybody else.
Yeah, especially if they like grew up with it or something.
Yeah.
You know,
if they have some kind of personal connection to it. It's just got that quality to it.
It's got some like original quality to it where like somebody could latch onto, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not just the design.
Yeah, so this movie it's better than, to me, I enjoyed it a lot more than 20 Million Miles to Earth.
It's better than a lot of what we've been watching.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a nice break. We've been watching majority Japanese movies.
A good deal of them butchered by the American transfer.
It's a nice little genuine visit to 1957 America.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah, totally. It's a great example of like 1950s camp. Like this is like it embodies a lot of stuff about like this sort of sci-fi monster genre.
A lot of people lump the 60s and 50s together when they think of like campy and action and sci-fi, and this really is uniquely 50s sci-fi. There's nothing really 60s about this.
Yeah.
It's still got that, the kids in the car with the salt.
Totally. Yeah.
Very that's not 60s at all.
The fucking one of the teenagers, I think it might be, it's one of the guys in there like calls the fucking main character Daddy-O.
Yeah.
Which is like really like, I almost imagine like some like parents in there like fucking kids, like, they bastards,
What that might have even been dated back then, for all I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely 50s. Okay, well, do you want to take a stab at what we're watching next time?
Just have King Ghidorah? No, it doesn't.
We're watching Space Amoeba.
Oh, cool, we are?
Tomorrow.
Good.
Tomorrow is when we're watching it.
All right, new episode coming up tonight, you guys. New episode's going to be posted tonight.
Don't be scared.